Hi everybody. Boy, today was not a beautiful day. I think we're going to be coming in for some pretty rough weather the next few days. Right now is a really good time to have a nice cozy house or apartment to snuggle down in. Why don't you pull up a nice comfortable chair or a pillow on the floor. Let's have a story. This story is called The Marvelous Bird and the Cheeky Bunny. When we're done, you can tell me whether you think that was a very good title or not. So let's get started. First of all, human beings, people who live in houses, apartments, just like birds live in the trees. But people didn't always live in houses. Way before your grandparents were born, thousands of years ago, people lived in caves like bears do, or holes in the ground like rabbits or meerkats or foxes. Maybe you can think of other animals who live in caves or holes in the ground today. These holes in the caves, they only had one opening and no door. There was no way to close them when it got windy. There were no windows to look out of either. Besides this, caves and holes are very damp. And if you light a fire, smoke just goes everywhere. And then the fire goes out if there isn't enough air to keep it burning, because fire needs air to breathe just like we do. Now, I don't know when people built their first houses, but it was still a long time ago. Still was before your grandparents were born. And I also don't know if the first houses all had doors and windows, as well as walls and roofs. Some might have had roofs and doors, but no windows or walls. Some might have had no doors and roofs, only windows and walls. If you wanted to go inside, you'd have to climb in a window. And the walls would keep out the wind, but not the rain. Now, when we had that first big storm, I built a house that had roof and walls to keep out the wind and the rain, but had two doors, one to go in through and one to go out through. And also windows with wooden doors on them that I could close and open. As the storm raged, wild and wet, I sat inside my house and listened to the sounds of the rain against my roof and the wind against my walls, my windows and doors. I sat and thought how good it is to build houses from wood or bricks or stones, and how terrible it would be to build houses from wind or from water. Either they would blow away before you could step inside, or the walls and floor and roof would just flow like a stream or a river, flow right out from under you, down into the sea. That's when I thought of umbrellas too, which are so good because you can move around with them like a little roof over you. But then I also thought of the birds outside in the storm, living in their trees. And I wanted to make them little houses too, like I had. So I did. And I made them very interesting, because I thought it must be very interesting to live in a tree. And I didn't want my birds to get bored in the houses I built for them. There was one bird that showed up who I was very glad to see come for a house. He was a bird I had spoken with many times before, and he only had eeny-weeny little wings and couldn't fly, like a kiwi bird or a chicken. But even though he could not fly, this bird was very special. And she had her own special talents, because this bird, as I said, was a very good bird to talk with. And that's because this bird used its brain all the time to think about things, All sorts of things that never would have occurred to me to think about. Like, why is ice cold and fire hot? Why do dogs bark and cats meow? Where does all the rainwater go? How does the sky make a rainbow? When exactly does day turn into night and night into day? Why do women wear high-heeled shoes and men don't? Why do ants and slugs taste better than spiders or cockroaches? How do children learn how to tie shoelaces? On top of all that thinking, the little bird might have had superpowers as well. I'm not sure. All I know is that late at night, as I lay in bed trying to get to sleep, there would come a terrific sound from the direction of the little bird's house. A kind of wailing and a roaring. A screeching and a scratching. A banging and a thumping. A whining and a wailing. A hooting and a harumphing. The sound of a fire truck swallowed by Daffy Duck. The sound of a wet noodle sucked up a straw by an angry French poodle. Well, I got out of bed and I crept to my window and I looked out into the night. I could swear that little bird's house was all aglow, glowing green and blue and other colors in the darkness all around it. And the strange sounds trailed off after a little while. Then all I could hear was some music playing very low. I got to move it, move it. I got to move it, move it. I got to move it, move it. Move it, move it. The next morning, it was cloudy but without any rain. I thought the day seemed strange and different in other, more unworldly ways. The sun was coming over the mountains, which was normal. Except there didn't used to be any mountains. And a big ship was on the lake, but there didn't used to be a lake. There were mosquitoes buzzing in the air, although it was winter. And I thought I could see tiny atoms and molecules that the air was made of itself. Birds were flying around in the sky, which was fine. But in the middle of the grassy bit in front of my window, a seal was balancing a table on his nose, and the table was growing some sort of long, weird plant with fuzzy, furry branches like a cross between a possum and an octopus. I got dressed and I went outside to find my next door neighbor, a Russian taxi driver named Pick Up and Drop Off. I found Mr. Andropov right outside his house, but I couldn't tell if he was leaving his house and walking toward me or walking toward his house and away from me. I think his head might have been on backwards, or his shirt and pants. This was most certainly turning into a very strange day. I called out, "Hi, Mr. Andropov," but his head was pointed the other way and he didn't see me. So I walked back toward my house to have my breakfast. But along the way, I came upon creatures we don't often see in my neighborhood. like this. This all-sorted, cone-schnozzled fret fly. His beak is like an ice cream cone, and his eyes like two licorice lollies. Its wings emerge from a hole in its head and look like macaroni. And his body is a long, thin piece of string with a little claw at the end to grab pencil erasers, which are its only food. But that wasn't all. When I returned to my house, I was shocked to find on my deck a pyramidilated Hooveropicus vacuumoid with stochasticated eyeballs. Imagine. It was looking through all my empty flower pots, searching for even the smallest bit of dirt and soil, which it would then suck up with its great big long vacuum cleaner nose mouth. Well, I know very well there is no arguing with vacuumoids of any sort. So I let it carry on doing what it must do. I only asked it, very politely, if, when it was done, it would please put back all the flower pots where it had found them. And please is a very good word to use when you like someone, or something, like a vacuumoid, to pay attention to your feelings. I then went around to my garden. Things were getting worse. What should I find there, sniffing my flowers? But of all things, a spiny-backed, posy-tailed snuffleupagus, sticking its face into my daisies. Now, first of all, it was winter, as I said, so there should not have been any daisies, or any mosquitoes, or any snuffleupaguses. Second, although daisies don't actually smell like anything, to you, or to me, or even to bees, to a snuffleupagus, they smell like a combination of bananas and fish, which, to a snuffleupagus, is pure delight. So there was no way I was going to get this one out of my garden. The day had truly become very strange, and it had only just begun. Because when I went inside the house to get a drink of water, I looked in the mirror and saw I had grown a pineapple on my head. Now, this was very inconvenient. It was going to cause me all sorts of problems. How was I supposed to get on the bus with this? How was I ever going to wear a hat? Would birds follow me around and peck at my pineapple head? How could I eat in a restaurant without being mistaken for fruit salad? And what if it kept growing? Would my barber agree to cut it shorter? Or would I have to use a hedge clipper? My cat didn't recognize me. He just stared at me in the way cats do when they're pretending you don't exist, because they're not hungry and they don't want anything else from you. I called her name. Furball, Furball, here Furball. But she just continued to ignore me. So I went outside to see how the rabbits would react. When Crumpet caught sight of me, she blinked her eyes a few times, like she hoped whatever she was seeing might just go away if she closed her eyes and opened them again. I don't think she had ever seen a pineapple before. I was glad that I had never given her any pineapple to eat, because this way she wouldn't want to eat my head. But where was the other bunny? I called his name, but there was no reply, nor could I see him anywhere. I looked everywhere. I looked and I looked, but no rabbit could I see. There was no point asking Crumpet. I looked around, I looked up the hill, I looked down the hill, I looked through all the grass and all the little bushes that were growing by the tree, but I couldn't see any rabbit. So I went to ask the brother and sister who lived across the street, hoping they had seen my bunny that morning. I didn't do it, the boy said. I told him I didn't think he had done anything to my bunny. I just wondered if they had seen him. I didn't do it, the boy repeated. So the sister explained to me that he was always getting into trouble. But if I wanted to find my bunny, the family next door had been having a picnic all morning. So they had probably noticed if there were any rabbits hopping about the neighborhood. She also told me she was doing a homework assignment on rabbits. And did I know that there were 305 different kinds of rabbits in 70 countries, and that the rarest is the American blue rabbit, which used to be called the German blue rabbit. I thanked her very much and went to see the family next door. They had just packed up and were about to return home. "All right, children," said the Big Daddy. "Pick up all your toys and bring them inside." "Mommy and Daddy can pick up the toys," said the little girl. "And me and George will go play. Tee! Oh, it looks like that man has a pineapple on his head. And he looks silly. Tee!" Now, Peppa, it's not nice to make remarks about someone's unfortunate appearance. Perhaps the man has had an accident, or he was born looking that way, or he hasn't changed his hairstyle since 1980. "I think he'd look better on a pizza. Tee! Come on, George." I asked the father and mother while they were picking up after their children whether they'd seen any bunnies about today. They couldn't remember, so I described my bunny. Long floppy ears. "Oh yes, we saw one of those. It's right over there." "Oh my goodness. Is that a bunny rabbit? Are those big ears? Is that a bushy little tail? Is that soft fur?" "You must be mistaken," I said. "I don't think that can be a bunny rabbit. Certainly not my bunny rabbit." "Oh, I'm sorry," said the daddy. "My glasses aren't very good and I must have made a mistake. I know where I've seen a bunny rabbit. Just over there. Look." Oh my. Is that a bunny rabbit? He has big ears, it's true, but are they rabbit shapes? And my bunny wasn't wearing pants and shoes, and his tail wasn't long and skinny. "Ah, yes, I really must get new glasses," the father said to me. "I don't suppose that's a bunny at all. Looks more like a giraffe now I come to look at it properly." Well, and off he went back home. And I decided to as well, with my pineapple head, but without my bunny rabbit. I don't understand where he could be hiding. But If you see him, be sure to let me know, because I do miss him so. And he is so very cheeky. I'm sure he's around here somewhere. So keep your eyes open, children, and let me know if you've seen him. Well, that was the story of the marvelous bird and the cheeky rabbit. I hope that was nice. And I hope we get some sun today and tomorrow. It is supposed to be fairly rainy. So stay warm, dress properly, wear your gumboots in the rain, and I hope I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.